Hi, these comments are for TN, and this is Michael from OTC, OnlineToeflCourse.com. You are one of my TOEFL Writing Bootcamp course students, and I am getting ready to comment on a writing practice test that you sent me yesterday. So I'm going to actually do a video error correcting it, showing you what you need to do to get a higher score on this part of the TOEFL exam. Okay, when I look at the actual IBT independent writing rubrics here, my first impression is really about maybe 3.5 to 4. I'm going to start with a base score of 24 points. I think you're pretty close to that threshold. After I error correct the essay, I may make an adjustment either higher or lower than that. But at this point, I'm going to put you between 3 and 4 here. So keep that in mind as we get started. So you're probably around 22 to 24 points out of 30 on this practice test. But let's take a look at what we have here. Okay, so the first thing that I notice when I'm looking at it is the introduction is 44 words. I think you can do a little bit better with that, and I think you need a more specific thesis statement. The other problem is you have a lot of really short sentences. I didn't get exact average here, but I'm guessing that your average sentence length is probably around 16 or 17 words. I think you need to get this more than 20. I think it's going to be better. But let's start with the introduction first. So what you wrote, I'm going to take a look at this. So you have in the introduction here, a lot of students have roommates, university students have roommates, and they spend a lot of time with them. Therefore, it is very important who we live with for succeeding in university life. You have to say for success. That's a grammatical error there. I think that there are two important things for a good roommate. Now, that's what you wrote, right? So I think you can do better than that. If you want to score higher than what you did, I'm going to show you what you could do here. This is an example introduction, which is instead of only 44 words, this one is 118. And instead of the generic thesis that you have, I actually incorporated the two key points of the body paragraphs, and I incorporated them in the thesis here. Now, the other thing I want you to notice is notice a lot of my sentences are longer than 20 words. That one's 29. This one, 21. The next one, 31. The next one is 31 words, right? Now, if I look at a lot of your writing, let's take a look at the difference here. So we have 16. We have 10. 15. This one's a little bit better. 20. The next sentence here. 16. So instead of being between 10 and 20 words, which is a lot of the sentences you're using, try to get to maybe 20 to 30 words as your average sentence length. That's going to show more syntactic variety. Okay? So let's take a look at what I did. So I'm going to replace your introduction with this. And your body paragraphs are much stronger than the introduction, by the way. So that's what I like. Let's look at what I wrote here so you can see. Many students decide to attend a university after graduating from high school so that they can pursue an undergraduate degree that will make them more competitive in the workplace. When these students finally choose universities in which they wish to enroll, they'll have to decide where they will live, whether these students live on campus in dorms or off campus in apartments. They will need to live with roommates who will help them share the costs of rent, utilities, and food. Hence, these students will be spending a lot of time with their roommates. Choosing with whom they will live will help them to succeed in university life, so students should look for polite and cooperative roommates. So this now includes the two key points of your body paragraph, and that is a more specific thesis than the one that you wrote. So those are my comments on the introduction, right? Now let's get started with each of your body paragraphs. See, first, a good roommate, let's say put should show politeness, and let's combine these two by saying good morning when we get up, and by being willing to clean our living room together. By living with such a nice roommate, we can live comfortably in the university without having to worry about being disrespected by our roommates when we grueling, we'll put so I added a little bit more there. And notice what I'm doing. I'm trying to show you, for example, instead of the short sentence you have, we got 27 there. This one, we're at 38. By living with such a nice roommate, we can live comfortably at, I'm going to put at universities, without having to worry about being disrespected by our roommates when we go to our living spaces, or how about when we return to our living spaces after grueling days of lectures and homework. For example, you can say, I would put something like, fortunately too. I'm going to put fortunately here instead of for example. You can use that, nothing wrong with that, but fortunately when I was a university student, I had a nice roommate. That's a short sentence. You can have short sentences every now and then, but it shouldn't be the norm. When I met him for the first time, he said that he wanted to would greet me every morning and night. And that I'm going to put and here so we can kind of make a little bit longer sentence here. In fact, when I met him for the first time, he said that he would greet me every morning and night, and that he would clean our room every week. He would clean our room every week together in order to keep it clean. Any I would put maybe something like this. Although many male students, I'm going to put many here to avoid an overgeneralization, because there are male students who like things clean. Maybe you're one of them. You say, although many male students usually do not want to clean their rooms because they do not mind leaving trash in them. And then we're combining these two sentences. Although many male students usually do not want to clean their rooms because they do not mind leaving trash in them, my roommate was so polite that we could build a good relationship throughout our university lives. He was so polite by being, he was so polite by picking, how about picking up after himself. So, and I'm saying picking up after himself, and we have polite here. We have to have polite to connect it back to what we're talking about. But we have, although many male students usually do not want to clean their rooms because they do not mind leaving trash in them, my roommate was so polite by picking up after himself that we could build a good relationship throughout our university lives. And I'm going to say something like maybe therefore here. Putting so in the beginning of the sentence, it creates a less formal tone. Technically, the word so as a coordinating conjunction, you usually use it to connect independent clauses together in the same sentence. Usually you don't put the coordinating conjunction at the beginning of the sentence unless you want to have a less formal tone, and I don't think that's the right tone for TOEFL independent or integrated writing. Okay, so these are some changes I would make in this particular paragraph. So you can see a lot of the changes are to help you create some longer type sentences, right? If you go to Better TOEFL Scores, I have a really good lesson for you. Okay, go to bettertoeflscores.com and you'll see the search box there. Type in the word TOEFL sentence variety. I think that's an excellent lesson for you right now. Hi there, and I'm looking at your next paragraph, your next body paragraph. So far, I made some changes with the introduction, and I added a few things there. I straightened out some language use issues in your second paragraph and added a few words. Now, in the last body paragraph, you have the idea that you state your topic in the beginning and then you illustrate that through a specific example. I mean, this paragraph is 199 words, so that's demonstrating a lot of depth to your ideas. So you say, second, if a roommate is cooperative with studying, he or she is a nice roommate. Sometimes we have too much work to do. I'm going to combine these two to avoid those two short sentences. So, and if our roommates help with our homework is very beneficial to our university life. When I studied abroad, I'm going to put when I studied abroad in America, when I was a senior university student, I had a roommate from New York. And I'm going to put here, I had a roommate. Let's combine these two sentences. Who was a native English speaker and could read English sentences much faster than I could. So notice here we have about 36 words on that sentence. That's going to demonstrate some syntactic variety. One day I struggled with homework for, I'm going to put for a chemistry class, not chemical class, which was famous for a lot of homework. Every day I read the textbook until 3 in the morning, but I could not finish reading it because there were other, I'm going to change this to was, because homework is actually a uncount noun. And when you say there, you have to look at what the verb is, and the subject comes after that. So there was other homework besides this chemistry class. I was too panicked to think about what I should do. When my roommate saw how difficult the class was for non-native students, he helped me with my homework. I'm gonna change this to by, and that way you can use a little bit more syntactic variety by reading the textbook instead of me, and taught me I'm going to put the most important points. Because of him, I could get a grade. And I'm going to put appreciative. If I had not had such a kind roommate, I'm going to change this to I would not have graduated. Would not I would not have graduated from the university. And that's a good example. The idea here, which I think is helpful, is you use the example and you talk about it in more than 100 words. So you definitely have the idea about how to, and you don't spread yourself too thin by bringing up too many different points. So the writer who does everything within a paragraph does nothing and ends up being very shallow and superficial. But you really honed in on one topic along with one example, and you took time to really illustrate that example. And that shows a lot of depth and complexity of thought. So that's definitely a good strategy that you did there. Okay, let's take a look at the conclusion. In conclusion, politeness and kindness are essential for a roommate. If we have polite and cooperative roommates, it makes our university life, you have more easier, but I'm just going to say easier here. Because once you say more, that's the comparative function, right? Now if you say easier, easy is an adjective, so two-syllable adjectives typically will take ER, and you put more on the longer syllable adjectives, typically things that have 3 or more syllables, like intelligent. You don't usually say she is intelligenter than her friend. You're going to say she is more intelligent than her friend. So be careful when you use that ER. You don't want to mark it twice. You don't have to say more and then easier. You just say easier in that case. And I don't think that the conclusion is that important, but it is a little bit short. That would be my only comment on that. But everything else is looking pretty good. I made some changes with certain things, so I would just say be careful about the introduction. Make sure that you don't have too short of an introduction, and be careful of some of the language use issues that I pointed out in this particular essay. After having read your essay, the next part of this video, I want to go over specific lessons in my online Toefl course I think that will be suitable to help you continue to improve your writing. And the good news is, I'm going to stick with what I said in the beginning of the video. I think that your incredible depth and complexity of thought to your ideas, along with those specific, really, really well-developed paragraphs, I think, I'm still going to put you around 24. Okay, so the things that I think you can benefit from. Okay, let's look at the grammar part of my course first. I would say be careful about using count and non-count nouns, particularly non-count nouns like homework. Remember that they're singular. I think that's a good lesson that you can take a look at. I think lesson 26, sentence variety, and also 26.2, sentence variety practice exercises, I think is a good lesson for you right now. You can check out that one in the grammar part of my course. And looking at the writing, let me see if there's anything in here I think you need to take a look at. I think overall you're definitely moving in the right direction. So in this case, you might look at lesson 5.6, writing the perfect paragraph. I think that might be a good lesson for you right now. And then one more, if you go over to my blog at Better TOEFL Scores, I'm going to show you a couple of things I think are going to be helpful for you right now. If you type in the keywords, the TOEFL introduction here, TOEFL example introduction, I think at my Better TOEFL Scores blog, I want you to review this one. And this will give you some good tips on how you can frame the introduction. You can expand it a little bit more than you did. You can raise a topic, and then you conclude by that thesis. So that's a good one. And then one more lesson here. I think this is, you won't see this in my online TOEFL course, but right here, click on TOEFL sentence variety practice, and I think this is also a good lesson for you right now. So you even have some practice exercises here to help you kind of reinforce what you're learning in that particular lesson. All right, so there you go. So those are my comments on the first independent writing practice test that you sent as a TOEFL Writing Bootcamp course student. If you have some questions about the grade I gave you and some of the corrections that I suggested, you can come by during my virtual office hours next week. You'll see the office hours Monday through Thursday beginning at noon, right? You'll see them actually in the email right below my name. So you can certainly come in for a few minutes to chat. And then the next step is I would do an integrated writing practice test now. Let's see how you're doing with that. And I will also do an error correction video of that practice test when you send it to me, and kind of do what I did with this one. And then once you get both of those done, you can actually complete another 15 different writing practice tests over at my website, and I will score and evaluate those. So come by my office if you have questions, okay? And thank you for completing this practice test. And keep up the good work. I really believe, I think with some minor changes, as I pointed out in this video, you're at 24 already. I mean, this is incredible. So let's make a goal. Let's go all the way to 30. Let's do it. I think you can get 29 to 30 points on the writing section of the TOEFL. I really believe that based on what I just read here.